My name is Lucy Simons, and I've been invited by the family to help today as we quietly share a few moments to speak of Linda, a loving daughter, sister, aunt, colleague, and friend. This is a gathering limited in numbers, reflecting what is happening at the moment in the wider world. But these moments right here, right now, will be no less meaningful. It is with sadness that I acknowledge that not everyone who would wish to can join us this morning in this beautiful place. Linda's family particularly felt that this natural woodland reflected her character, her love for life, and especially her love for flowers. And we hope that being here, gathered together in such a peaceful setting, will help to provide moments of comfort as we listen to music Linda loved, her family read poetry, and as her friend shares her memories of Linda. I'm sure that those of us who are able to be here together will help to make this morning a very special celebration in the life of Linda. Linda, or Lindy Lou as she was affectionately named, was born in 1954, the eldest of 5 children. At the age of 7, she was a very pretty bridesmaid at her Uncle Graham's wedding. At 12, she was riding her pony called Candy Tuft at various pony club events when the family lived in Wales. At 18, she went to Lancaster University where she received a BA in politics. And a few years later, she decided to study law at a London university where she received yet another degree. Throughout her life, Linda worked hard and conscientiously as a lawyer, often travelling quite a distance from her home and on a daily basis to her place of work. Her colleagues say that she was great to work with, always interested in all aspects of the law, and indeed, also in justice. For several years during the 90s, Linda and her mother enjoyed many foreign holidays together, visiting Sardinia, the Amalfi Coast in Italy, Florence, Bruges, and wonderful Lake Como. Closer to home, they also enjoyed a 5-day coach holiday to Falmouth. Linda was always a delightful companion and did her very best to look after her mother. There were also many family holidays to Spain, but it was the trips to Cornwall, where loads of the extended family, including Nick and Wendy and their family, Tim and Emily and their family, and cousins Helen and Claire would get together each year she especially loved. Visiting local farm shops was her favourite pastime, and something she was often teased about. Linda was all at once fiercely independent and yet totally devoted to family, and to the lives of her siblings and nephews and nieces. Family time was very precious to her, Sunday lunches being a big part of her week. Linda loved coming over and joining her sister Anne and her family for these culinary delights. She often arrived late, for which she was teased about mercilessly. Timekeeping was never her strong point. She could be counted on, however, to attend every birthday, every Christmas, every Easter, every special occasion. She was always included. She was very much a part of the family, where she was fondly known as the ketchup monster, because she routinely had more ketchup with her food than actual food, and provided endless mirth due to being very particular in her ways. In fact, I understand that her ironing skills will be sorely missed by her brother-in-law. Over the years, Lynn devoted herself to her nieces and to her nephews, enjoying their company and being a marvellous auntie in many ways. She would often babysit, and as the children grew up, she would take them out individually to special places, depending on their particular interests, and devote herself to them. Georgie still cherishes the adventures they would have with her aunt as a child. Her greatest memories involved Lynn taking her shopping to the West End regularly, especially on her birthdays. Lynn was much loved by all her nieces and nephews, always interested in what they were doing and where they were going. They all held a special place in her heart, and in exchange, this devotion and love was returned. I would like to read a tribute that Linda's nephew, James, has written. Throughout my childhood, my lasting memories of Linda have been the excursions she took me on. From adrenaline-filled away days to airshows on the south coast, to slightly discombobulating trips to locations such as the Hunterian Museum. I would probably need more than 2 hands to count the number of occasions Linda and I travelled out to an airfield, to watch an airshow, wander the halls of the Imperial War Museum, or visit a site of some military significance to stimulate my young, preteen mind. They were some of my favourite days as a young boy. It was all I was interested in. While I would be totally engrossed in whatever I stood before, I'm almost certain that Linda was far from interested. This, I feel, encapsulated her. As young children, my sisters and I seemed to be her entire world. At least it certainly appeared that way from our perspective. For this reason alone, she would take us away and do things that would totally energise us, despite the fact that it may have been far and away from her own personal interests. Whilst these trips out morphed in nature as we grew, there was not a time when Linda was not plotting or scheming a day out. One which particularly stands out in my mind was a visit to the Hunterian Museum. The location was kept a secret from me by Linda, as she wanted it to be a surprise. I must say it was certainly that. I still remember the perplexing nature of the exhibits. In case you don't know, the museum is famous for exhibiting the 18th century anatomist John Hunter's collection of anatomical specimens and scientific curiosities, including the dentures of William Churchill and fetuses in jars. Whilst at the time I was baffled as to why she thought I, a 19-year-old boy, would have enjoyed such an eerie environment, I've come to appreciate that she wanted to introduce me to something that may have interested me. Something that could have broadened my, as I like to call it, useless fountain of knowledge. However, regardless of where we were and what we were doing, each day would end in the same place, in a Wagamama's for a good feed. Food has always been an interest that we could both subscribe to, and it has been over some of these meals that we would have some of our best conversations, as wide-ranging as the locations that we visited together. Even when she became ill, she would say to me, "When I'm better, we'll go out and have a celebratory Wagamama's," and how I wish we could have had that opportunity. She was one of, if not the most, happy and loving people I have ever met, and I will dearly miss her. Lynn's niece, Lulu, has asked that I share these words that she's written about her aunt. For me, Linda was my all-knowing guide to London. I was always amazed at how she never once had to look at a tube map and always knew where she was going. It is something that I will always remember. She was always happy and enthusiastic to give directions to anyone, always familiar with their destination. Linda and I were 2 explorers of London, constantly pinging back and forth ideas of places and restaurants that we wanted to go to. We had a never-ending list that we aimed to visit, which I'm devastated we now won't complete together. Linda was so excited to be able to share her favourite spots in London with me, and I was only too keen to visit them too. Places like Neal's Yard in Covent Garden I will always hold dear to my heart as one of her favourites, and I won't be able to go without instantly thinking of her. When I was younger, I always found it embarrassing quite how much she would talk so keenly to random people we would meet, wherever our excursions took us. From waiting staff to cloakroom attendants, Linda had time and attention for them all. I later realised just how rare an individual it is who makes sure to give such focused attention to just about anyone. And through my own experiences since, I now realise how much I appreciate it when a stranger provides me this generosity. She made sure that everyone was listened to and heard. Thanks to Lindy, I now know how such a small detail in your day that can be so easily forgotten, to be kind and thoughtful to others, can go such a long way. Lynn taught me this, and it is a trait I hope I can live up to. As I grew up, I was able to start talking about books with Lynn once we started reading the same titles. It was always such a pleasure to discuss our thoughts on books, which we did until her last few days. She was keen for me to learn and have opinions, but more importantly, to be taught by me about things that I had a passion for. Throughout my degree and other opportunities in work, she has been a champion of anything I pursued. I'll never forget how excited she was when I got my internship, almost more so than me, and her demand for constant updates as to how it was going. Any of my successes were always shared with Lynn, where each and every one of them she celebrated, no matter how big or small. Latterly, Linda had the pleasure of helping her niece Georgie look after her great-nephew Jamie, who was a great joy to her. Linda relished looking after him, taking him for walks, to the swings, and energetically playing with him. She adored him, and he her. Jamie and Lynn would play for hours on end in the playroom with animals and puzzles. She would teach him shapes and colours and tested him monthly. Her happiest times were taking Jamie out in the buggy for a day, to go and have coffee and ice cream in cafes in New Malden, which they both treasured and looked forward to the whole week. In fact, Linda was really happiest with a baby in her arms and children around her ankles. Lynn, an avid reader, would often discuss books with her sister Anne, as they both belonged to book clubs. Linda was always considered a valued participant in her book group, often introducing unusual books that might otherwise never have come across, and reliably contributing to stimulating discussions. Linda once invited the members of her book club to the Inns of Court for lunch. They comment that this occasion has yet to be topped with regards to the company at the table and the welcome that they received. If it hadn't been for Linda's contacts, they would never have had such an experience. Linda loved going to the cinema, often with her sister Anne and her mum when she visited, and sometimes they would all go to the theatre. Linda loved her food, and one of her highlights was eating out. A particular favourite was the Urban Pantry in Chiswick, where they do the most wonderful brunches, which she always enjoyed. When times were tough, Linda could be counted on as a support, and she was always there, through thick and thin. She was a fantastic daughter, sister, and aunt in this regard, available in an hour of need, happy to do what was required from her. This went beyond the family as well. She was a kind and caring friend and colleague, always interested in people, their lives, their jobs, their experiences. perpetually convivial and always welcoming. She was a formidable champion for women and women's rights and was greatly admired at the Association of Women's Solicitors for her enormous contribution over many years as a member, committee member, and administrator. She was a loyal and enthusiastic champion of the association, organising many events, recruiting and supporting new members and their development within the organisation, and was instrumental in the association's successful nominations for honorary QCs and other prestigious awards. Linda was always welcoming and could not do enough for others at work, where she always fought for the underdog, making sure that their voice was heard and that they had fair representation. She was good-hearted and a kind soul, even though life had not been particularly kind to her in many ways. In her final days, she expressed regret to a colleague that she would not have the retirement that she planned, travelling and volunteering for community work and Amnesty International. Her brave, final message, so calm, gentle, and kind, highlights that we have all of us, lost Linda's loving intentions for her retirement and the real contribution she would have made for the good of others and to the lives of her family and friends. What a terrible shame that she never had a chance to do these things. Linda was considered to be very special. A softly spoken, pleasant lady who was lovely company, with her warm character and perpetual friendly smile, bringing joy and interest. She was a rare person. With her, what you saw was what you got. She was unabashedly generous and unwaveringly kind. As the collector of memories for the family, she had a fantastic ability to recall details about the past which was unparalleled. She always tried to be positive, whatever life threw at her. And in turn, she was always reliably a great listener and arbiter of good advice, and acted as the family's in-house lawyer. Her final months were spent living with Anne and her family. And even when she was poorly, up until her last day, all she thought about was the needs of others, always putting everyone else first. As one of her friends put it, "I am so glad that Linda was able to share lockdown with people who loved her and whom she loved so dearly, and that she was able to have her last days surrounded by so much love. She will be sorely missed by one and all. She was indeed much loved." I'd now like you to take a moment to remember Linda in your own way as we listen to one of her favourite songs, Big Yellow Taxi.
Put up the parking lot.
Linda's brother Tim, come and read a poem.
Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Nothing's happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. And the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way, which you always used to. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without an effort, without the ghost of a shadow upon it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is an absolute and unbroken continuity. What is this death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind because I am out of sight? I am but waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well, nothing is hurt, nothing is lost. One brief moment and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again.
Thank you, Tim. We're now going to listen to I Say a Little Prayer by Aretha Franklin and look at a video, some still images put together by the family. like to invite Linda's friend Heather.
What lovely photos. It was so nice. I first met Linda over 40 years ago, and we quickly realised we had a lot in common and became close friends. First of all, we really loved gossiping about people we knew, of course, but even about people we didn't even know. We both loved books, and I still remember the piles and piles of books in her flat. We loved going to films together, and we had a great interest in women's issues and promoting women. She became a friend to all my family, and they loved her. And my daughter Nikki sends her love to everybody here today. She always looked out for my daughter. She was so kind. After my partner died, in very distressing circumstances in our house, and I felt I couldn't stay there, Linda took me and Nikki in. She gave us a big hug and made us very welcome and comfortable, and I remember how much we needed that kindness then. She's kept looking out for Nikki, even when Nikki grew up, when she was in her 20s, and I went away for a month, and Linda took her out for lunch. And even now, when she's fully grown up and has a partner and her own business, she took her out for a coffee while I was away for a long trip. When my daughter said to her, "Where should we go?" Linda said, "Somewhere with good cake." And I think a good way to celebrate her would be to have a really beautiful big chocolate cake with lots of champagne. She would love it. She and I were both complete foodies. We spent hours talking about food. Food we'd eaten, food we'd cooked, food other people would cook for us. And we used to love going out to eat. She often took me to really special places for my birthday because she knew I would love it. She always put a lot of thought into giving presents to people, and that was one aspect of how kind she was. That she would always think hard about what that person would really like. We went to wonderful places. She took me to Morrow, she took me to Ottolenghi, and I particularly remember a vegetarian restaurant called Vanilla Black that had a Michelin star. And I'm vegetarian, so I'm in paradise in a restaurant like that. She took me there a couple of times, and the last time was last year for my birthday. I still remember us going there and salivating over the menu. When we went into restaurants and the staff would come forward to greet us, she always greeted them like old friends, as has already been said. She smiled at them as though she'd lost a friend years ago and found them. She asked how they were, and she really wanted to know, and she was like that. She was always very kind to people who other people often felt free to be rude to. Office receptionists, cleaners, bar staff, waiters, people like that. She always spoke kindly to them and seemed really interested, was really interested in what they had to say. I loved cooking for her too. She used to come over to my place for dinner quite a lot. And I remember once I said to her, I wouldn't have dreamed of cooking fewer than 3 courses when she came. She looked a bit alarmed, maybe thinking she was being a bit demanding. But it was because it was such a pleasure. She was so appreciative. She asked how I made it. She asked for the recipes. She always really enjoyed it. So she was great to cook for. She was great to have around. She and I took lots of holidays together. Although in the early years she inexplicably refused our kind offers to take her camping. She didn't like to be comfortable. We compromised on caravans a couple of times, and I remember when we were in Devon, this is going to echo something that someone else said, when we were in Devon, there was one of those little signs on the wall that lists all the facilities available, and she left a very bemused campsite owner after she asked to borrow the iron, which no one else had ever asked to do. And we always used to tease her too, that she wouldn't put on a t-shirt without ironing it. One of the best holidays we ever had was a wonderful week we spent in Madeira. We went to wonderful gardens, which Linda loved doing, and so did I. And one of the treats of the week was going to a posh hotel where we had a special tea, one of those ones with bone china, and a 3-tier cake stand, and a pianist. And I remember sitting there looking out over this beautiful bay full of palm trees. She absolutely adored it. She loved those little luxuries. She tolerated and did her best to join in with my obsession for walking. And I remember, though, I do have a clear conscience about one walk she asked for in the early days. She wanted to go to Dungeness because she wanted to see Derek Jarman's garden. And I warned her that if you walk on shingle, it's very tiring and very slippery. But she wanted to do it, so we did. And at the end of a very tiring day, as we approached the car park, she could see my car parked there, and she started shouting, "Hello, little car, I'm so glad to see you." And we still use the expression in our family at the end of a long day, "Hello, little car." Another expression she's responsible for is the walk to the walk. And we say this in our family now. This dates from the days when I would fail to mention that it was 2 miles from the station to the start of the walk and 2 miles back. And so we still say that one. Linda's life wasn't always easy. It had a lot of sadness and it had a lot of frustrations, but she rarely complained. She preferred always to talk about you and what you were interested in. And before I say goodbye to my old friend, I have to mention Linda's attention to detail, or she'd have me for it. Every story had to include every detail of everything, and it was part of her interest in people that she had to know everything about you. We always joked in our family about who would be the next person to be subject to the Linda Inquisition. And I hadn't planned to say this, but one thing that she and I had planned to do when she was well was to go to Anglesey Abbey next spring and see the snowdrops. I'm so sorry she won't be there with me.
Thank you, Emma. I'd like to invite Linda's nieces, Lulu and Abby, please.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and meet those two impostors just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make traps for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop to build them up with worn-out tools.
If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor loss the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, people then can help with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute in 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more you'll find, more you'll be a man, my son.
Thank you. now going to listen to another song, favourite of Linda's, Songbird by Eva Cassidy.
For you, there'll be no crying. For you, the sun will be shining, 'cause I feel that when I'm with you, it's alright. I know it's right. And the songbirds keep singing like they know the score. And I love you, I love you, I love you like never to you. I would give the world to you. I'd never be cold, 'cause I feel that when I'm with you, it's alright. I know it's right. And the songbirds keep singing like they know the score. And I love you, I love you, I love you like never before. Like never before. Like never before.
I'd like to invite Emma.
Memories in the heart. Feel no guilt in laughter. She knows how much you care. Feel no sorrow in a smile that she's not here to share. You cannot grieve forever. She would not want you to. She'd hope you can carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times and the way you showed days you spent together, all the happiness you shared. Let memories surround you. A familiar word someone may say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, a day, that brings her back so clearly as though she's still here, and fills you with feelings that she will always be near. For if you treasure these precious moments, you will never be apart. And Linda will live forever, locked safe within your hearts.
Thank you, Emma. We now move to the committal. I'm sure that everyone who knew Linda will no doubt miss her immensely and would wish to join me in commending the family on this amazing ability to pay tribute to Linda so beautifully through music, images and words from all of you today. Well done especially to Anne, who arranged the glorious flowers today. This beautiful service. I'm sure Linda would approve. Linda was a very kind, selfless and helpful person who did all that she could for others in her professional, her personal and her family life. She got on with everyone. She was always interested in caring. Her greatest gift was her brilliant sense of humour and her ability to make everyone laugh. Her smile, the sound of that laugh, and the love that she gave will be missed. It has been said that Linda and her generosity were taken away far too soon. And although for all of you, life will not be the same without her, I'm sure her warmth, the care that she gave, her hugs, and her positive attitude to life will be remembered. Linda's mother said, "I would like to think she has gone to a happy place, and her memory will always have a special place in my heart and those of her family." Rest in peace, Linda, wherever that happy place may be. You will be remembered. Please join me as we have a final moment of thought for Linda, listening to music specially selected to be played. We will let the music play so you can reflect on your own memories for a minute or two, and then Nick and Jackie will lead everyone out through the glass doors at the front, so we may file by Linda for a final time as we walk into the woodland. There will be a book of memories available if any of you would like to add anything to it. But Linda, may you rest in peace.
Smile Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fears and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness, although a tear may be ever so near. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile